Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's edition of Vishal and Company. Today, we're going to be talking about Canada's rate hike run, wheat and oil prices spiking, and the stock market being in turmoil because of, World War III. So, really exciting, happy news to get to today.
Yep.
And we're just going to jump right into it. So, I'm going to pass it over to Vishal.
Thank you, Maddie. Come on, boys and girls. Do we buy the dip for World War III or what, man?
Oh,
Right
no.
now, the markets haven't done much this week. So I know last week we talked about that impressive rally, which sort of confused a lot of people. But ever since that, I mean, these are the 5 days of trading: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and this is today's candle, which is Friday, of course. So basically, for this week, we have just been holding this range here, holding about 4,300 at the on the downside, and 4,390 here to the upside. So really not much to talk about in terms of the U.S. indices. I think the more interesting indices, of course, what's going on in Europe.
Ouch.
So yeah, that's your German, your Germany index, and we were talking about it, I think, last week when it was somewhere here. So Germany is feeling the heat there. Here is the UK FTSE, very ugly red candle days here today. There's the French markets. Here is the Italian markets. So, one day or in 5 days, we're pretty much giving up, tons of range day moves, and we're now testing areas we haven't seen since early 2021. There goes Spain. So that's the Spanish markets. And I also have the Norwegian market here, just a bit different, obviously, because of oil, right? So we'll get to that in just a minute. And you can see here, Canada is also green because we're also an oil market with a lot of stocks that are on the energy index there. But, let's look at first a few of the commodities. Let's look at gold here. Look at that. Very nice, strong price action here on gold. We are at 1967, and we might even take out the highs that we made last week on Wednesday evening, Thursday morning, when we got the initial headlines of the Russian troops moving in there. So we might take that out today, if not next week. But I think a lot of people are now talking about $2,000 gold there. And we also have to talk about the US dollar because the US dollar is also spiking higher. And, we've talked about this many times in the show where money will probably run into the dollar just because it's that safe haven reserve currency. A lot of people will probably disagree, but it's maybe the best of the fiats, right?
It's safer than most else out there.
Yeah, and we'll talk about other fiats here in just a minute because we have to bring up, of course, the Russian ruble, which is looking like a crypto chart here. This is the euro against the ruble. So when this moves higher, it means the euro is appreciating and the ruble is depreciating. So the ruble is getting hit very, very hard. Sort of looks like our good friend, the Turkish lira, which was also, not yet, maybe not yet. And then, here's the US dollar versus the ruble. But one thing I want to point out, which I don't think too many people are noticing here, is the actual euro. So it's not just the ruble, but the European currency, the euro, is also taking a hit. So when this moves lower, it means that the second base currency, so in this case, the Australian dollar, is getting stronger against the euro. The New Zealand dollar is getting stronger against the euro. Hey, if you're Canadian and you want to buy something in Europe, maybe now's the time to do it because the Canadian loonie is appreciating against the euro. So keep an eye out on this because, when you see the euro, and of course, a lot of money running to the Swiss franc instead of the euro, we're almost parity, folks, like $1 here. So €1 equals 1 Swiss franc, which, we haven't seen since, what was that, 2015. So I think that's a telling sign, maybe money running into Swiss bank accounts
It's not too surprising to see that the euro is being impacted the way it is because this is a complete destabilization of their entire union.
Exactly.
It's not. I mean, the ruble, yes, definitely, you would see that, and I shouldn't say it's not surprising, but when you look at it in regards to the geopolitical impact, it should be dropping, and that's what I found was kind of interesting about this. And I know you talked about oil and stuff, that nobody really thought about wheat. Russia's the third largest producer there. I can say it of wheat on the planet, and having them in disarray such as it is, wheat is exploding right now. So it's an interesting concept.
And let's not forget, Ukraine is one of the top 5 wheat exporters there as well. But here is Russia's market muscle. Natural gas, wheat, oil, obviously, is something that a lot of people talk about. I'm also going to throw in palladium, because Russia and South Africa control 85% of the world's palladium, and it's mostly used, I guess, Galen, for catalytic converters, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's mostly used for that. And basically, here we go, palladium. Oh, wow. Okay. Live as we're talking, it might be making all-time record highs, taking out $3,000 per ounce by the time we're done the show. So there's palladium, but we have to talk about what Galen mentioned, and that is oil. If you guys live here in Vancouver, we broke a record in Canada, all-time new record. Gas is going for $2 per liter, and that's the regular variant. So if you drive a German car or anything else that needs premium, you're probably paying like $2.20, $2.30 per liter.
Yep.
At some places. And we've talked about this in previous shows, that oil rising will add inflationary pressures.
Yep.
And
Food
we're getting a
prices,
double
everything.
whammy.
Absolutely.
Yep. And what I'm worried about, I'll just try to get through this chart quickly, is if we close and we're making we're seeing price levels we haven't seen since 2011. So what is that, 11 years?
Yep.
In oil, and if we do close above this 110 zone by today, it looks like, folks, the next resistance area is around that 145 all-time record high there for oil. So get ready for that inflationary pressure to pile up, because of course, if transport costs are also rising, a lot of companies will sort of transfer those costs to the consumer to make profit, I guess, right?
And what's interesting about this is that you think about the idea that the rising tide floats all boats. But not necessarily the case. One of our Discord participants made a comment in regards to you posting a story about the high price of gas today, hitting its record levels. And he went, it's not affecting any of the stock prices for the juniors that I'm involved in. And it's interesting that that's the case, because realistically, something like this doesn't necessarily float the boats of the smaller players. It will do Chevron, Enron, all these other guys.
Who are actually producing.
Yeah, who are actually producing. But the kids that are actually out searching for it still haven't felt any kind of love from the markets, and probably won't, do you think? Or what?
Yeah. It's a tough one, because, with gold and silver, I'm a bit more knowledgeable about that fundamentals. I know you are too, Galen, right? We talk about how a lot of mining companies haven't actually been going out to explore and add to their resources, right? So a lot of the juniors on the gold and silver side, they tend to actually follow the commodity. But with oil, I guess it's a bit tough, right? I don't know if there's an actual shortage of oil where companies need to find additional find additional wells. So that's the only issue with oil, and I'm not too well versed on that side. I know maybe some of our viewers here might be saying, maybe some reviewers from Alberta or something might know a bit about that. But I do find it a bit surprising that some of the the juniors are moving. So let's just look at just for the heck of it, SOU, right? Southern Energy here.
Yep.
It's not and excuse all these lines here, but yeah, it is up. But as you said, it's not shooting out higher.
It's not.
So I think, yeah.
What do you think? Do you think it's going to be a case of commodity security rather than availability? If Russia goes, fuck you to the world, you're not getting our oil, or to NATO or whatever, which would kind of be stupid. But if it were to do that and takes that reserve off the table, then we might see an upward pressure on stock prices for juniors that are looking for new resources.
So this is the nuclear option. A lot of people know that, Europe is still dependent on Russian energy. Because you're not going to build a pipeline from North America to Europe anytime soon. And yes, you can increase the LNG shipments, but that means Europeans are going to pay more for gas and energy, which I think they're going to do. But it adds to the whole drama of now Europeans paying more for energy and inflation, for food and other living costs. So the nuclear option is, Russia might actually shut their taps off to the west. And I think if that happens, then yes, there is that possibility where, hey, we have to look for supplies now, right, to make up for that. And maybe on something like that, that might get, some of these juniors moving again. But I say that's like a nuclear option because I don't necessarily think they're going to do it, but anything's on the table right now.
It would definitely not necessarily be a shot in the foot, but it would definitely be a very final move on their behalf, and
it would be
pretty irreversible. So yeah,
let's quickly talk about wheat, because I think, as you said, Galen, it surprised a lot of people. It hasn't surprised us though, because as you guys know, we have agriculture weekly roundup that we put out every Friday, and take a look at wheat, folks. This is just unbelievable. Look at this week's price action, and I believe it's the best performing asset class in the markets this week. We are almost about to take out record highs that we made in 2008. So we've seen highs taken out from 2012. Where we are right now on the wheat futures, we haven't seen, well, actually, sorry, my bad. We haven't seen these for this price since 2008. So that's like, what, 14 years?
Yep.
Yeah, it is, sorry, 14 years, because that is, of course, the title of today's roundup. And as you can see also, we limited up, which basically means that agriculture was moving so fast, which I believe it was like 7% per day, where they actually had to stop and pause trading because it was just ridiculous. And it looks like we've had 4 limit up days in a row. So,
is this a day trading situation, like a swing trade that you may get involved in? Do you think this spike is permanent, or is this just something that's tied to an emergency situation and will dissipate as soon as we calm down?
So, maybe I'm a bit more biased, right? But I'll throw this out to you guys, right? Because obviously right now, yes, there is this pressure due to trade and export. But see, my thinking is there's still other bullish indicators, right, for food. Climate change, right? Climate issues that might cause supply chain disruptions, and we might not be able to grow things properly, or the cycles, the growing seasons might not be proper anymore. We've seen like crazy floods in like Iowa just wipe out all their supplies. And also, I would also say there is this potential of fertilizer and potash shortage, because a lot of companies have been talking about that since last year, and we might feel that impact actually very soon, because I believe the spring planting season is just like around the corner.
Yep.
So I think there's a few other like major fundamentals to keep an eye out on. And again, I say I'm a bit biased, but I'll throw it out to you guys, because obviously, yes, it is moving due to the headlines and Russia being a large exporter, but I'm still bullish on agriculture because of those things I mentioned. What do you guys think in terms of wheat and corn?
Maddie, do you feel that's important in your life?
Wheat and corn?
Yes.
Like, not in my immediate life. I don't like me or any of my
any of your people.
Any of my people, I don't think they're tracking wheat right now.
Does no one eat gluten anymore? Or?
Well, see, that's the thing. It seems to be a bit of a trend that people are pulling out, but it's
no dairy, no gluten.
Yeah, exactly. But it seems to be still a very important food staple, regardless, right? Where countries don't necessarily have the choice of making that switch, as it were. And I think it's very important, at least at this point, because if you look at non-gluten options such as soybeans, there's all sorts of problems environmentally speaking, and also efficiency and plain nutrition with the soybean approach. And so I think that wheat will probably remain to be important. It may not be in the eyes of some people who feel it's just not part of their daily lives, but I think on a global structure it might be. And perhaps, if you were looking into it as something as a long-term play, I think food is going to be one of the most important drivers. I think, honestly, over the next 10 to 20 years, it's going to be food and water.
Yeah. Good old food and water. But, if you're not someone that consumes gluten, I think even with rising oil prices, that will still impact all food prices. I was just taking a look here at some of the other commodities here. You're seeing oats is down I don't know how the meats are performing. Live cattle's down, so it looks like the meat might be fine. But yeah, as you mentioned, right? Wheat, soybeans, and corn are just spiking, and they're usually essential staples, right, for people around the world. And if we talk about rising food prices and oil, so this double whammy that might increase inflation, say here in Canada, our bank is very serious about that, and hiked rates 25 basis points. We are now at 0.50%, and this happened on Wednesday. And there is this sort of debate now, right? Because obviously you want to hike a large amount, like maybe you might need to be hiking more than 25 basis points in order to deal with inflation, which just got worse due to oil and the wheat prices. But then on the other side, there's this idea that if there's too many consumers, and by the way, in Canada, a lot of real estate owners actually have variable mortgages, because it's a very big difference actually right now between variable and the fixed. You're saving like almost over 1.5%. So basically, your costs are going to be rising because of inflation, because of hiking, raising interest rates, which might actually cause people to slow down on their purchases, right? They might not purchase as much as they did before. They might start saving money, which could, in essential, cause a recession down the road, which means the central bank might have to cut interest rates again to get things going. So, we've talked about this. And again, I not really a doom and gloom thing, but, Gail and I have spoken about this many times about how the central banks could be stuck and they might not have the tools they talk about in their toolkit.
So what would you, just with everything going on in the world and being so unstable, what would you recommend investors do right now?
So, I've always been saying I like commodities, right? So I've been positioning myself in the hard assets, and Galen talks about the actual hard assets as well. We do both like the physical stuff, physical silver and gold, but I also think cash is a position, right? Right now we're seeing a lot of run into the U.S. dollar, and I think a lot more people might be doing that, might be closing positions to sit on the sideline with their cash, wait to see how things develop. If we don't go into like a World War III situation, or we, obviously, hopefully diplomacy wins here at the end, right? That might give us a good buying opportunity. But I've always been heavy on the commodity side, because I think regardless of a world war or whatnot, right, the inflation story is still going to be there. And I think, commodities and hard assets are sort of what you want to be in if you have an issue with, if you have troubles with, say, inflation, right, with your currency falling. But there could be some other asset class out there, and maybe you want to bring him in, Maddie?
I was just going to say, Joseph, this is the perfect transition. Let's hear your thoughts, our crypto man.
Okay. Well, I don't know. I've been following this thing going on in Ukraine since it started, specifically watching the prices of, Bitcoin, a Litecoin, but also Monero or XMR. We can tie this in together with, kind of tangentially with the trucker protests going on in Ottawa. I mean, the reason why I think Monero is actually doing as well as it has, although it's taken a bit of a dip,
Right.
Over the past few days, is primarily because I think a lot of people are getting sick of the way that they're getting treated by their governments. So what they're doing is, if they're somewhat knowledgeable, they don't put their money on Bitcoin, because you can track everything you do on Bitcoin. What they do is they put it in one of the privacy coins, the most popular being Monero, which means that you could trade your Bitcoin or trade your fiat in on an exchange if you're living in Kiev and you want to leave, and you can trade it in, you can shape shift it over to Monero or Dash or one of the other privacy coins, and you can leave and go to, Canberra, Australia, and you can actually take it out and use it completely as if you, with minus maybe a 5% off your stay.
Right.
And there might be taxation issues, but you can deal with that later. I mean, it's basically a global way of moving money without the government paying the government.
So Joseph, this might be like a noob question just on my part, but I'm someone that is more of a hodler. I haven't actually gone to exchange my crypto for Canadian loonies or US dollars, but does every crypto exchange allow you to do that? And like, how are the fees relatively? Like, are they quite high, or is there a better way to do it?
Not every exchange will let you do that. I mean, there's some exchanges which only allow you to shift between different coins. So,
okay,
and like, yeah, you trade in. I mean, these are mostly just decentralized exchanges that do this.
Right. Okay.
But I mean, like, you'll find the occasional one which only allows you to move between different cryptos and won't let you have an off ramp.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, if you're into crypto and if you're deep into crypto, you should probably have an idea of what exchange route you're going to take.
Exactly.
Especially if you want to get one of the more obscure coins, you have to know. You should have it mapped out, basically.
Okay.
I'm going to buy this obscure coin because it's performing well. Yeah. But when it hits my certain mark, I want to shift it over to this specific coin, move it to this exchange, and this exchange will let me offload it from fiat.
Now, isn't the inherent problem in doing this? Well, one, the Bitcoin thing is being sort of completely searched out. But the other thing is that, yes, as you were mentioning, throwing your money into a cryptocurrency doesn't necessarily, I mean, you can buy in as much as you like. They love that shit. But as soon as you start to cash out, you could have a fucking exchange that just closes down in order to stop the run on the bank, as it were.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Do you
as of 2014 or 2013, but
well, they're still doing
it. If you're jumping from a small scale to a big to one of the big name exchanges, no.
So
I mean, that's generally what you want to do.
I doubt that, because there's no deposit insurance on these exchanges, and there's no regulation as to how much they should have as assets in order to cover their deposits. So I would think that it would probably be a scary, if not risky move, or a futile, if not risky move, to put your fiat into cryptocurrency in order to move it out of the country, because one would think that you would want that money back. And that if you were to take it out, well, it doesn't depend on the country. It depends on the exchange, right?
No, it sure does.
Right?
I could move. I have some crypto in the Canadian exchange. If I wanted to shift over to Coinbase, they wouldn't care. They take a little bit of cash.
Yeah, no, they don't care. They don't care. But if you were to go to Coinbase and say, okay, I want all my money fucking back. First off, you got to, from what I understand, somebody's got to be willing to buy it. And two, the exchange has got to be willing to carry out the transaction, right?
Sure, but you have to know what exchange you're dealing with.
Certainly,
if you go to some unknown exchange...
Okay, just to tell me this. Are there exchanges out there that actually have fully covered deposit insurance?
Yes.
Which ones?
Up to a certain amount. Gemini Exchange.
Okay, well, that's not fully covered. That's not fully covered, right? The FDIC requires banks to have enough insurance.
I want to find out what their updated insurance rates are, because they were going to update them again, but it was up to a certain. It was up to, I think, high six figures.
Okay. Well, high six figures doesn't matter. I mean, I'm talking about percentage of your deposit. Are there exchanges out there that cover 100% of your deposit as per the demands from the FDIC that they need to pay out when you go to, have a run on the bank, as it were?
I'm not entirely sure. Leading insurance coverage is on the screen. But what's the number? Go back up.
I see Gemini maintains $290 million in digital asset insurance, in addition to the capital reserve requirements set forth by the NYDFS, who are the New York State Department of Financial Services.
Okay, well, I mean, interesting to see, and then which exchange is this, sorry?
This is the Gemini one that...
exchange in New York.
Now,
from by the Wizard of Oz.
And forgive my ignorance on this. This company can operate internationally, so I can put my money in Gemini, go to Botswana, and log on and get the cash. Is that correct?
I am not entirely sure. I would like to say yes, but I'm not 100% sure that's the case. I don't want to give any misleading information.
Well, Joseph, here's just another way that I'm just going to run this by you, but if, say, I bought my crypto here in Canada on Gemini Exchange, I moved to, I was going to say Zimbabwe, say a little hi to TK there. But say, if I go to Botswana or something, and if I decide to cash out, can't I just do this? Can't I just get my crypto from Gemini, put it onto a wallet, on my phone, take my phone to say an ATM machine, and cash out that way? Because I know there's a lot of ATM machines, obviously in Vancouver. Might be a tough one to find in Botswana, but is that a way to do it? Are fees on the ATM machines much higher? And there's probably a limit too, right?
Interesting. Yeah. How much are the gas fees on Gemini?
I'm decently sure that the Bitcoin wall machines that you actually find here are only off-board, and I'm pretty sure you can't actually cash out Bitcoin using it.
Oh, you can't cash out the Bitcoin.
I'm pretty sure you cannot cash out the Bitcoin.
Oh, okay.
So basically, if you have cryptocurrency in your wallet in the outside world, you're kind of relegated to only be able to carry out transactions that involve cryptocurrency, correct? Like you couldn't go to exchange it, go to a bank machine going, I've got 50 Monero here, give me my equivalent in cash.
No, you're not going to be able to do that. You have to actually connect to a bank or some other off-board. That's actually how the government is doing their utmost to control crypto.
I
control both the on-board and the off-board.
I thought we could take out cash from an ATM machine, because I remember back in the day, people were taking black bags, right? Because if they were cashing out 20K at Guildford Mall here, you don't want to.
I was never aware of that. I always thought those teller machines were all just involved strictly with crypto.
So I know you can go there to buy, right? You can obviously buy.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Oh wait, mate, find out where to buy and sell Bitcoins and other cryptocurrencies.
Yep. So these ATMs are an easy way, where you can just go up to the ATM and say, okay, I want to change $100 or whatever to this. There's a lot of them around Vancouver now, but I always
so I could go and say I want whatever my equivalent is in cash.
Yep, and exchange it to Bitcoin right away.
Well, no, not to Bitcoin. I'm talking about pulling it out. Going to the ATM machine and saying,
that's what we're
here's
trying to find
here's
out.
20 Bitcoin, like I'd have 20 Bitcoin. Here's 20 Bitcoin. I want my money. Of course, a bank machine probably wouldn't have enough slots to fucking put out that kind of cash.
They just start smoking and catches on fire.
I was thinking you could get out, but maybe you can't. Maybe, like you said, maybe I thought there might be a limit. Like you can maybe take like a few $1,000s out, but maybe you're right there, Joseph. Maybe you're not allowed to actually.
I've never seen this honey badger thing before, so maybe it's a different company from Bitcoin Wow, which is the one that handles most of the cash machines around here. Has been doing it since 2015.
I've just given the internet where I live, so people know where I am. But
so as far as ease of use and transactional use, meaning you could go down to the bakery and get something, it would probably be far more advantageous, at least at this point, to have a nugget of silver with you to carry out the transaction than hoping you could walk. Yeah, then you could hope. Well, not necessarily. I mean, you can take silver and go to a bullion exchange and get your cash right then and there.
Cash out, or go to a bank.
Right, or even go to the bank. Absolutely. So there's lots of places that you can exchange it for that. And if it ever comes down to where there's no currency to exchange it for, then you've got no currency to worry about anyway. Right?
Yeah, that's right.
I mean,
I agree with you. Right now, the actual, I don't know, ease of use, the user experience for Bitcoin, especially. Well, Bitcoin's not meant to be not meant to be a store of it, not an exchange related. It's supposed to be now it's supposed to be an investment. Okay. I mean, there are other coins like Bitcoin Cash which are trying to make themselves into digital cash, but I would never use Bitcoin Cash.
Now, do you think with the company, because with all the winds of what's going on with, what did you want to do, Vishal?
Honey Badger is a network of currency ATM machines that you can facilitate the purchase and sale of Bitcoin and other cryptos. You can buy crypto with cash or sell cryptocurrency for cash instantly.
Nice.
So it's just the fees are probably a bit different, right? I'm assuming it's probably higher at the ATM machine, and they probably don't cash you out at the exact market price.
And does it actually give you cash at the machine, or does it say you now have $400 in your account?
It will cash you out, because I remember reading about this years ago where people were bringing black bags, but maybe I thought maybe people got beat up back then, so they.
I think people would get beat up now.
Maybe. But just a quick thing.
I want to know that when Bitcoin was at 60,000, whether or not they hired armed guards to stand beside it.
Just a quick question here to both of you guys, because I know I'm big on silver and gold, and I have some crypto as well. But What do you guys think about this whole idea of? I know we're hearing a lot of people getting their crypto out of Ukraine. There was two things actually here. So one is there was this debate with Peter Schiff, and he was claiming that hey, you can take your gold bullion and head out of the border. A lot of people are saying, hey, if you're Ukrainian, you're heading out of the border. You're not really going to carry your bullion. And if you are at the border, maybe one of these border guards will say, hey, give me one of your little bullion coins there, and then I'll let you go. Where you can't really do that with crypto. And then secondly. What about cyber attacks, right? We're hearing a lot of talks about cyber attacks. Wouldn't that maybe wouldn't that make you maybe sort of feel a bit safer in, say, metals?
Well, for me, very quickly, the issue is at this point in time actually threefold, not just the two that you had mentioned in regards to transactional ease and oh Jesus, but
carrying it or carrying across the border.
Well, yeah, or sorry, just getting it out of the country without the government knowing about it. Cyber attacks.
Right.
The thing is right now is that governments who are looking at this and going, well, we can't control this, which Joseph has mentioned on a lot of occasions, and he does have a point, that their intention is to control the transactions of these particular currencies, that they're going to see this and are already prepping, going, well, fuck, man, we're going to regulate the shit out of this, right? So in doing so, then relieve it of any sort of the advantages that you may have had previous to that. But as you said, yes, it's very difficult to exchange a Bitcoin wallet with somebody that is just standing at a border in the midst of a war zone than it would be just to hand them a gold coin or a silver ingot or a box of silver ingots and say, let me across the border. As you mentioned, it's difficult to carry that much cash physically. Right. And you stand the chance of being robbed. But then with the cyber attacks as we stand right now, and they're growing much more technically advanced, that we stand the very same chance of being lifted already. What was it? There were over 3,000.
There's a lot.
I'll have to leave that for right now because I can't remember the exact, and I don't want to just start spouting off. Right. But yeah, Joseph, what do you think?
I was going to say, Joseph, you get the last word here.
It's a great show today, guys.
Well, frankly, I don't know if I was traveling from. I don't know if I was trying to move out of the Ukraine, I probably wouldn't have a Trezor wallet. I'd probably go with an old school paper wallet, and I can just stuff it in with my stuff it in with my files. And I mean, if I get searched, I mean, nobody's gonna find gold bullion on me. No one's gonna have a look at any kind of weird papers, some writing, especially if it's got a peculiar title that doesn't make any sense. Like, you can name it whatever you want, some kind of deflection purpose. But I mean, that's your crypto right there. You just write down the appropriate key in the appropriate place, name it I don't know, random whatever, and there you go. Bob's your uncle. You drive the hell out.
What if they see that paper and how these passwords are really crazy, right? Like Fox, kitchen, dinner, microwave, or something like that. What if they're like, hey, this guy might be a Russian agent here? This is some code. I don't know.
You'd take that risk.
You might have to come up with something on the fly for that one. Yeah.
That is all the time we have today. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next week.
Awesome. Bye. Guys.